Everybody, Kevin Crouch here with South Metro Weather, and I want to provide an update on the storms that we are expecting early tomorrow morning. I want to make sure we do that tonight because we do have a lot that will be going on in the next several hours here. Really, actually, I should correct myself. In several hours, there will be a lot going on. For the moment, right now, though, not a lot happening, and it's kind of the calm before the storm here. So this that you see behind me, this is the severe weather threat as it is lined out by the Storm Prediction Center. And actually, let me get, because I know that folks love to see the time live, because they want to make sure that that I'm live and that they're seeing that, and I need to get, there we go. That was weird. It was there when I started, but not when I actually came on screen. So here's the severe weather threat as it is lined out right now. And obviously you can see that slight risk. Now I have to point out, as I did earlier today in a post, that the timing of this kind of conflicts with the timing of these advisories a little bit, because what you see here, this is up until 7 a.m. Now, as we go forward, this is 7 a.m. and forward. So it's going to be in our area right as one risk advisory ends and the next one begins. So I don't want you to be too caught up. Basically, the way it lines out is that we should be watching for a slight risk of severe weather area-wide, right? That is kind of the most important detail here. And we will be looking at the probability, probability at this point, I think the latter is probably appropriate, of at least some severe weather. Now, what kind of severe weather are we worried about? Well, here's what I'm looking at primarily. So damaging wind, I think, is going to be the main risk here. I think this is going to be the main problem with those storms. As you'll see in a few minutes here, it is going to be a squall line, a straight line that comes through. And with that, we could see some hail. I know the logo is kind of obstructing this a little bit, but that's the hail threat there. And I do think that we could see some hail there. I don't think this is going to be a widespread hail event unless we get some storms, maybe some heavier storms on the leading edge of that. Again, I'll cover that in a second. I'm not too concerned about flooding here. I think that if you are in a flood-prone area and you happen to get a really good downpour, maybe some more persistent downpours, then you could have some issues. But I'm not really too concerned about flooding at this point, just because it's going to be fairly quick moving activity. I don't expect this stuff to be hanging around. So those heavier downpours, there may be some temporary flooding going on, but if you're in an area that requires really a lot of runoff or a lot of very persistent rain, I don't think we have that to really be too concerned about. Let's talk about the tornado threat a little bit. There's been a lot of talk about this on social media. Now, I want to point out a couple of things. And by the way, yes, that map behind me is outdated, so just, don't look at that. But I do want to tell you that the tornado threat, there's been a lot of talk about it. Something really briefly that I want to cover here, and I have to make this ever so brief speech every year. You have to understand that when storm chasers are posting weather information, a lot of the time it's going to have a different spirit than if somebody like myself, a weatherman or a weather person of sorts, is posting it. I'm posting to inform you. I'm showing you what information is out there. There's not really a bias either way. Storm chasers are going to be optimistic towards tornadoes, right? I mean, they have to be. That's their line of work. So they're generally going to favor a more ambitious severe weather forecast. So when you're looking at what they're posting, you have to understand kind of the spirit and the mentality that goes behind that to really understand where that information is coming from and really kind of the lens that they are looking through when they're telling you what information to pay attention to. So just keep that in mind. The reality of that tornado threat at this point is going to favor QLCS tornadoes. Now, what in the heck does that mean? Quasi-linear convective system just means a straight line of storms, a squall line, as opposed to the little individual storms that pop up. We could have some of those too, but right now the primary concern is going to be that straight line. And so, if we do get any tornadoes in this early morning period, number one, tornadoes are not that likely in the early morning hours because we don't have the heat of the day, those things that really build up that convection and can really heighten your capabilities for those kinds of severe weather. That's why farther east in the deep south, that's where they're looking at a higher risk tomorrow afternoon. So as far as the daytime hours in our area, we're looking at a tornado risk. Again, I've got it kind of half the low risk here. It's possible we could see one or two of those brief spin-up tornadoes, and they would likely be brief. These little spin-up tornadoes that happen on the leading edge when you have shear coming in with, and shear is rotation in the atmosphere, on the leading edge of that storm system where you have those strong winds, that can happen. And they happen fairly quickly. So you've watched me before, I'm sure, where I'm watching one of these lines come through and we're monitoring the front end of it for those little spin-ups. Again, most of the time they don't actually produce anything, they don't actually happen, but it is possible. So that is what we are watching here overall. So just keep that in mind. The main issue is going to be the wind. So let's talk about timing here. This is looking at 2 a.m. We have a few showers out there right now. In fact, just about an hour or so ago, I was feeling some raindrops outside. We will probably have more showers in our area, and then off to the west, we will see from Wichita Falls down to Abilene and San Angelo, we'll see those storms coming together, and they will already be intense out in that area. By 4 a.m., they'll start making their way, and we'll see some of this activity possibly start to pick up in intensity. Could be closer to our area for sure. And then here's what I want to show you, and this is kind of one of the things I'm going to be watching fairly closely. It looks like we could have a few of these storms that pop up ahead of that main line. Should they do so, that means a higher risk of large hail and could mean a little bit of a different risk for tornadoes. Now, if there's a lot of them, that means they have to compete for the storm food, those ingredients, all of the fuel out there. So that could work in our favor and maybe lessen the severity a little bit. But you notice it's essentially I-35E and eastward. So again, that's where we talk about that higher risk going farther east. These will likely start to pop up in our area and then move eastward. This whole line will be approaching our area right around 6 o'clock, and by 8 o'clock, the more individual cells, that more isolated activity will be farther east, and that thin line will be making its way into the eastern half of our area. By 10 o'clock, probably mostly out of here. So, but you see it's a quickly moving line that pushes through, and that I think will be where we see those stronger winds. Now, and talking about winds, on the back side of this system, we will see some very strong winds. We could have winds up to 20 to 25 miles per hour sustained. I'm not talking about gusts yet. 20 to 25 miles an hour sustained, and we could even see wind gusts of 30, 35, 40 miles per hour. So that is why we have this wind advisory that is effective tonight at 11 o'clock. Goes until tomorrow night at 11 o'clock. The good news is tomorrow night, by this time, winds will probably be subsiding, but we do have that wind advisory in place. Now, if you've looked around, you've probably noticed the ground starting to dry out a little bit. We haven't had a whole lot of rain, a whole lot of moisture. We were doing fairly well in the winter, and then things have kind of slowed down moisture-wise, and so now we have this fire risk to contend with because we're combining some of that dry fuel on the ground with very strong winds tomorrow. So we have an elevated fire risk for most of our area, and to the south and west, we have a critical fire level, especially going down to Waco, on down to Hamilton and Gatesville, and then down in the hill country from Austin to San Antonio to the border. We're even looking at a higher risk than that, very critical down there. So we will need to keep an eye on this. Of course, we'll have rain coming through, but that wind's going to dry a lot of that out fairly quickly. And so even just yesterday, today, we have seen little brush fires going. I think it was a couple days ago. It was yesterday, Sunday, when I was hearing report after report after report of fires in people's backyards and that kind of thing. I saw over the weekend several people were burning, trying to go ahead and burn now before things continue to dry out. And unfortunately, we are already in a position where we could be dealing with some trouble there. Now, these storms are coming in fairly early. I'm going to move this logo here because that didn't quite line up the way I wanted it to. But just make sure you remember that Jimmy Porch is, of course, sponsoring us and is, sponsoring these live streams specifically. But I want to make sure you understand Weather Call. Okay, Weather Call is an important service that is available out there, and it is it's a service. It's not an app. I want you to understand that. A lot of these apps, they just don't work well. So it's not an app that you're looking at. This is where you will get a severe weather call directly from me. You'll get my voice on the phone, and it will tell you, hey, we've got a tornado warning going on. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning, those kind of things. There are lesser advisories, lesser alerts that you'll get through text message or email, but the most serious stuff, your tornado warnings, your severe thunderstorm warnings, those kind of higher alerts, you will get a phone call directly from me. It's 24/7. It's around the clock, and that includes at night. We have this thing coming in early in the morning. I doubt most of you want to be awake with me at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. But if you have your phone ringer on, you have that audible, that can wake you up and let you know. And hey, if you don't get a call, you're probably, if you're signed up, you don't get a call, you're not included in the warning polygon, you don't have to worry about it. So, and I know a lot of folks are asking us about different locations. We'll do a recap here shortly. There's also lightning alerts included. So if you like to go golfing, you're out on the at the sports complex or the baseball field, football field with your kids, soccer games, that kind of thing, you can have those alerts included with that service, and you're not confused by the sirens and the apps and all this kind of back and forth. The alerts are on the go. There's a feature where you can actually say, hey, I want to make sure that this is following me, that we can, and yeah, I'm gonna post that link here shortly, but it has a follow me feature to where if you're traveling, you can keep going, and then it's only $15 a year. That's not a high price to pay for this information. So I'm gonna go ahead and post that link here, and let's go ahead and get that posted in the chat here. So there is that link where you can sign up. And this is a service that, again, is going to have you covered. And here's the thing. If you have family in another state, this will cover the lower 48. So you can get those severe weather alerts to family members. They can hear my voice in Georgia if they want to, and all quarters of the country where these alerts will make sure that they know that they are covered for severe weather, that something may be going on. Yes, so this will cover anywhere in Texas, anywhere in the country. So it's not limited to our particular area. This is anywhere. And I know there's a lot of you who have family in other places and want them covered. This is perfect for them. So make sure that you get signed up for Weather Call so that early in the morning, if you do get a severe thunderstorm warning, God forbid you get a tornado warning, and you're included in that, it's not an app that's going to buzz your phone real shortly and you're not going to notice it. Turn that ringer on, sign up for Weather Call. You're going to get that call directly to you, and you will make sure that you're aware of any severe weather going on. So we've got that, we've got the link posted there for Weather Call. You go to that link, you sign up, and you're going to be good to go. And I know that we've had several people sign up today, and I'm always so excited to see people jump in because, hey, it makes my job easier so that I'm able to actually let you know what's going on. And if you're on the live stream and, there's a warning issued, odds are with the delay on the live stream, just the nature of the beast, there's a little bit of a delay. You're going to get a call from my voice saying, hey, there's a warning. So it's going to let you know that there's a warning issued. You can jump in to the live stream or watch here and you're going to be informed. I've actually used it myself. The second the warning comes, it's literally seconds from when the National Weather Service issues that warning that I get the call, and we're on the road then. So just make sure, again, if you don't have a way to get warnings, or if you only have one way, you want to have multiple ways to get warnings. You have the EAS warnings on your phone and that kind of thing. Get Weather Call as well. You never know when one or the other will fail. Weather Call usually is quicker as well. So it's a great service. I'm going to do a recap here because I know we've got a lot of people who just jumped in a few minutes ago. So I'm going to go ahead and roll this back here. If my mouse will allow. So let me just kind of let's roll back to the beginning. I know it's annoying just going all the way back, but I want to make sure that we recap this because we've had several people jump in since this whole thing began, since we started the live stream. So this is where we are with the severe weather threat that has been posted out there by the Storm Prediction Center. So you can see that there's an enhanced risk west and north of Fort Worth. Our area included in the slight risk. And here's the thing. This runs through 7 a.m. The next one that starts at 7 a.m. has the other side of our area included in this slight risk. So essentially, it can be confusing when you look at these two graphics. Assume that most of our area, really all of our area, is included in a slight risk of severe weather tomorrow. Fortunately, the enhanced risk at this point does not include our area. So we'll continue to monitor this. I'm going to be up very early in the morning. And as far as what kinds of risk we're looking at, again, we're under a slight risk. Don't look at the map behind me. Unfortunately, that's outdated because it defaulted to the old one. But we have damaging winds as the highest risk out of all of these. Unfortunately, it does look like very strong winds will be, I would say, probable. I'm not sure if I'm going to say guaranteed here, but probable with these storms. Hail is a possibility, but it's not a very likely event. Flooding, I don't think will be quite an issue just because of these storms being able to move fairly quickly. And then we have the tornado risk. I do want to talk about that tornado risk a little bit and make sure that we discuss that because there's been a lot of hype online and these kind of things. The first thing I have to point out is that we are dealing with storm chasers that will... I'm sorry, just one second here. Okay, so, all right, just getting an update there. So what we're looking at is the possibility of tornadoes on the leading edge of the storm. We've talked about this before. When we have these squall lines come through and you have those very strong winds on the leading edge of that storm, yes, that can lead, unfortunately, to little spin-up tornadoes. They're usually brief. They happen quickly. They come and go pretty fast much of the time. The good news is they don't tend to last very long necessarily, but it is possible that you can have one or two of those tomorrow. Now, does that mean one or two guaranteed in our area? Not by any means. I'm saying it's a possibility at least for our area that we could see one or two of those, and I'll be watching that very closely in the morning as we watch this line come through. And Jamie Campbell in the comments asking, Dallas was saying 70 mile per hour winds. Are we worried about that? So here's the thing on that. There's two elements of dangerous winds for tomorrow. One more dangerous than the other, but what I will say is the leading edge of the storm, we could see 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts along the leading edge of this storm system. So that's going to be the primary concern with this storm system. So yes, I mean, it is very possible that we could see those winds. Now, the good news is obviously the higher risk is looking to stay north of us, but we could see that in action tomorrow. So let's go here and actually transition this over. Let's get the timeline kind of figured out here. So this is 2 a.m. So we will see this line of storms coming together pretty aggressively across the western fringes of North Texas and then down to our south. We'll see more, I think, of what we're seeing tonight. We just have these light showers here and there. But as we move forward, I want to bring your attention to a couple of things. First, that line of storms continuing to move eastward. It does point to the heavier activity being north of us. That may be where you have a higher likelihood of possibly some larger hail. This is 4 a.m. Now as we get to 6 a.m., I want to show you these are little individual storms that are popping up. The HR model does have these little storms popping up ahead of that main line, and if these do develop and they continue on, it's very possible that we could see a higher large hail risk and possibly a tornado risk involved with those storms. It just really depends on if they get started, if they are intense when they're in our area. But you notice that by 6 a.m., this line is starting to make its way into our area. So the other thing too is that you notice this part of the line isn't very strong, but it's got these storms ahead of it. That's because it's cutting off the flow. So there's variables in place of what could happen here. If these are not in place, that could mean a stronger line overall. But by 8 a.m., we have more isolated activity across East Texas, but we have a very thin line of storms moving through. And this is where you're probably going to get your stronger winds ahead of that solid line. And then by 10 a.m., they're moving out of our area. Now, behind this line, there's another wind conversation to have, and that's why we have a wind advisory that goes into effect at 11 p.m. tonight, runs through 11 p.m. tomorrow. We could see winds behind this system of 20 to 25 miles per hour sustained. I'm not talking about gusts. Sustained winds, 20 to 25 miles per hour, and we could see wind gusts of 30 to 40 miles per hour behind that system. I mean, it's just insane what we could see tomorrow across this area, and that's why we have that wind advisory. Now, if you're looking around, especially in the country areas, you've probably noticed that the ground is looking a little dry. Well, unfortunately, it is. We kind of slowed down the rain a little bit, and with the very strong winds we'll have tomorrow, we do have an elevated fire risk across most of our area. Now, from about, that's Meridian to west on south, so really getting into the northern parts of the hill country there, from Waco, Gatesville, Hamilton, Comanche on south, that's where we're looking at a critical risk of fire danger there. And then when you get down into the hill country from Austin to San Antonio down towards Laredo, that's where they're looking at a very critical situation. So we're unfortunately in kind of a situation tomorrow where behind this storm system, the good news is that by tomorrow night, these winds should be a little less aggressive. But unfortunately, we are in a situation where I don't expect to get enough rain tomorrow that will persist against the very dry winds that are headed our way. We'll have dust coming in as well. So it's going to be a little bit West Texas here. I'm a Texas Tech grad. I will feel a little more at home in Lubbock tomorrow with all of the dust that is moving in. I've been seeing pictures of those walls of those dust storms, as we call them, those haboobs. I don't know where that name came from, but it is what it is. But we've seen more of those coming through. So I'm concerned that I think we could very well see a lot of dust, could be unfortunately some fires. It was just over the weekend when I was getting multiple reports and even saw the brush fire truck from Waxahachie Fire Department moving quickly down 77 as they were responding to a fire in somebody's backyard. There were multiple reports of that as we went through the weekend, and unfortunately it's going to be contentious, I think. If we continue to try to burn tomorrow, the winds are very strong. Any fires that start can quickly get out of hand. So just keep that in mind as we go forward there. And I do want to talk about Weather Call Next Gen. And I'm going to get into the comments here shortly. But Weather Call Next Gen is a service that I have partnered with. Some of you may have already seen that here, but I do want to talk about it because this is an early morning weather event. Weather Call Next Gen is a service that will call your phone. So if you have your phone on, if it is on and, just 1 second here. I need to check an update that the Storm Prediction Center just put. Okay, so yeah, so looks like they are outlining an area for a possible, or a really likely tornado watch tonight, but it's north and west of our area. So I'm going to continue to monitor that, but it looks like, at least at this point, that will stay north and west of us. So I'll continue to monitor that. But with all of that said, we're looking at an early morning storm system, and you probably don't want to be awake with me at 3, 4, 5 in the morning watching this thing come through. Weather Call Next Gen, you're going to get a phone call. If there's a tornado warning issued, a severe thunderstorm warning, extreme wind warning, something like that, a flood emergency, you're going to get a call with my voice saying, hey, there is a tornado warning for your area. And it's only going to include your position. It's not going to be one of these apps that gives you a warning somewhere in your county. It is your specific position. And it's 24/7, even at night. So if you have your phone and it is turned on to where you will hear the ring at 4 in the morning, it'll be hopefully later than that before it's here, but 4 in the morning, I mean, your phone will ring. It's not going to be a quick buzz that you sleep through from an app. It's going to be a phone call. Just leave that ringer on as you go to bed. Now, no news is good news. Once you get signed up, if you don't, I would first recommend getting a test call so you can put the number in. Hey, this is Weather Call Next Gen, so that you know what's calling and you're not ignoring it like a telemarketer. But you get no call, you're not included in that warning, right? So that's a saving grace there. You do have lightning safety included, so you have that feature available to be alerted when lightning is too close to your location. So if you're out at the park, you're out at a ball game, those kind of things, you have that notification right there to let you know that lightning is too close for comfort. No siren and app confusion. We know that sirens are confusing and we hear about it all in the chat and that kind of thing, and then the app confusion too. Your apps sometimes, again, will give you a warning that's somewhere else and you don't need to know about it. This will let you know about your location. You're going to put in your address. Now, the difference is you get alerts on the go as well. So you have the Find Me feature. So if you're traveling out on a business trip, vacation, whatever the case is, you do that Find Me feature. It's going to find you where you are and give you warnings in that location. So you're not getting calls from home. You're alerted wherever you are. It's only $15 a year, which is really not too big a deal here. It's not something that you're going to be too bogged down by. And then the link, we will go ahead. Let me go ahead and post that in the chat here. I think Terry may be able to post that as well. I'll see if I'll give her a second to do that. And Lucy Med, so you're asking, quick reminder of watch and warning. Just remember, a watch means that you need to watch the weather. A watch means, hey, pay attention. This kind of severe weather is possible in your area during this time. A warning means it's either indicated by radar or it is witnessed as happening or could happen imminently at any moment, so you need to take shelter at that time. So that's the difference of the two. But you want to absolutely, there's that link in the chat there to get signed up for Weather Call. And we've already got several, I think, who have signed up, which is phenomenal. And again, it's always encouraging when I see, yep, we've got several people that are signed up. That is awesome because that makes my job easier. So when I tell you, hey, we've got a warning coming through, here's the thing. You can get family and friends out of state. Anywhere in the country, this will cover. So if you got family members, especially some of these older family members that may or may not be as in tune with things, you're concerned about them because you can't be there, you don't want to have to call them at 4 in the morning, this works for them as well. So get those out-of-state family and friends signed up as well. Send that link to all your buddies and get signed up for Weather Call. This is a really, really important service to pay attention to. And it's telling me we're connecting to your channel. So did we lose connectivity here? Or are we on? Maybe not. Let's see. I'm not sure if we're still on the air or not. Looks like we should be. Okay, so did we... All right, so, okay, so are we good? It told me that there was a disruption there, so I'm not sure. Okay, sounds like we're good. So I think there was a quick disruption there, but maybe it was quick enough it didn't affect the stream. Good to know. So I appreciate that, but definitely get out there and let people know. Let people know that this service is available. So Jamie, yes, so the timeline that I showed you earlier is what we're expecting for our area. So let me just go back to that one more time. We'll show kind of the timeline as we're expecting it overnight, and then I'll get into the comments and answer some more questions. So here's the timeline we're looking at. This is 4 a.m. We have a few showers and thunderstorms out here. The strongest stuff is out west. By the time we get to 6 a.m., The main line is moving into our western zones, but we could have storms ahead of it that are ongoing at that point. So it could be 5 or 6 a.m. when we really get started here, and then the main line moves through between 6 and 8 o'clock. That'll continue on east, but the good news is by 10 a.m. this should be out of here. I will be asleep, catching up on some rest at that point, but all of this will be east of us, and then we will have to deal with those very strong winds out ahead of this system going from there. We do again have that wind advisory behind this storm system. Very strong winds will be moving through. Could be a lot of dust as well. That will increase our fire risk because we have dry vegetation out there, and even though we'll get some rain tomorrow, it won't be a whole heck of a lot, and a lot of it will be dried out by these very dry West Texas winds that are coming through. And then yes, I do want you to sign up for Weather Call Next Gen if you have not already. So I want to try to jump into the comment section here. Let's get the podium here. Let's see if I can get this mouse to cooperate with me. It doesn't like to. Let me go back and see. I think we've probably answered most of these, but if you have questions, go ahead and do those. Sarah Starn saying you hate that you have to drive your kids through it to get to school. I agree. I'm hoping that for the most part, most of that will be on its way out by the time we're really kind of getting into the heat of that. And of course, we went through the timing there, posted that link there as well. And why can't Texas have San Diego type of weather? Well, unfortunately, we're uniquely placed to get all kinds of different kinds of air masses here, and they all kind of go to battle. Dana Pitchford said you just signed up. Thank you so much. Tammy just signed up. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you guys signing up for Weather Call Next Gen. Love that. QT employees will be up with you at 4 a.m. getting your donuts and rollers sent out to your store. So perfect. So QT will have everything rocking and rolling, literally rolling, early in the morning there. We covered the watch and warning. Let's see. Jamie, yeah, you said Dean says hello. So Dean, hello, and hope the storms don't wake you up in the middle of the night, buddy. I want you to be able to get some good rest tonight. So here's hoping that you can sleep through that and don't have to worry about it. I'm sure Mom will be keeping an eye on it for you. And Mary NextGen is not an app. It is not an app. It's not something else you have to download on your phone. You sign up. It's a web service that gets your information and takes care of it there. Not an app you have to keep up with and you're going to keep getting all these notifications from. It's going to drive you crazy. Not an app. And I'm happy it's not an app as well. Mercedes DuBois, are the storms before the line going to be severe? She's in Palestine and have to go to Tyler for an appointment, trying to plan to see how bad it's going to be. So here's the thing. The storms that develop ahead of the line, assuming we get some of those, could very well be severe. It really kind of depends. And the good news is that the bigger severe risk is east of us, especially where they're going to have this later in the day. The thing is, we're going to be getting this really at our coolest temperature, some of our coolest temperatures, and then once the sun comes up, really starts warming up. Yeah, you're going to want to make sure that they're paying attention down in the deep south where they're getting this thing in the heat of the day. That's going to be an unfortunate situation, unfortunately. But and Ibrahim, yeah, no video games for me tonight. Probably not. Gonna try to go to sleep as soon as possible here. Will it still call even if you're logged out? Yeah, Tammy. So the nice thing is that it's not something you have to constantly be logged in on your phone. So that's the kind of the saving grace. Again, it's not an app. It's not an app that has to be active and set up all the time on your phone. It's a web service. So once you're online, once you can close. You can close the window and everything, and you're still set up. So it's going to have you set up in the back end, so you're ready to go. So you don't have to have that constantly pulled up to get that call. And Paula, you're asking, what are the chances of a tornado in Midlothian, Waxahachie? Here's the thing on the tornado risk. We're not looking at a major severe weather risk in terms of tornadoes tomorrow. It's a straight line coming through for the most part. That's what we're expecting. So you can have those brief spin-up tornadoes that pop up across our area. The good news is that we're not looking at widespread tornado risks at this point, but we are seeing the possibility we could have those brief spin-ups. They happen fairly quickly. They tend to be brief and not long track, long-term tornadoes. So that's some of the good news along with that. I will be watching those things very closely to make sure that we are informed on that, and that if we do have any of those spin-ups, that we watch those. But I'm not going to say likely, but possible tomorrow. So I think that that is a fair assumption overall for the tornado risk tomorrow. Caleb Edwards, you're asking what time are the chances of a tornado in East Texas? East Texas is a large area, but I would tell you really the severe weather risk is going to start, I would say, around 9-10 o'clock is probably when we're going to have the best chance of that, farther east, and then going on from there. So you will want to make sure you're paying attention through the early part of the day. The good news is, though, that I think the heat of the day, by the time we're getting to that 2, 3, 4 o'clock time period, it will be east of those areas. And Lynette, you're asking what is the weather looking like for the Wortham area. So Wortham down just, it's kind of down where Navarro, Limestone, and Freestone counties all come together. It's basically the same as what we've covered tonight. So storms possible in the morning, most likely from about, I would say, 7 to 9 a.m. It's going to be the highest probability of storms in the Wortham area, so you will want to watch. Severe weather is possible, but the good news is by 10, 11 o'clock, should be out of there. And Sour Dork, do I get a kickback from Weather Call? If you do that, it will be more motivation. So yes, I do get a small part of that. I am an affiliate with Weather Call, so I do get a small part of the fee you pay to subscribe to that. But that's not my motivation for doing it. I want to make sure that's clear. I'm not just trying to sell something to you. This makes my job easier. If you're informed and you're staying on top of these weather situations, it makes my job easier. If you want to look at it from a motivation perspective, when you get the phone call, there's a warning, you're probably going to tune in to me. So hey, even if I'm not getting paid, I'm still getting a benefit from it, but that's not the reason I do it. I want you to have a consistent, reliable, and workable source of warnings. I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't give you that, if I didn't market that to you. If I knew it was here and didn't market that to you, I would not be doing my job. So even though I do benefit from it one way or the other, this is a good service that I think everyone should have, whether I get something out of it or not. What about driving from Blooming Grove to Ennis tomorrow? Again, it's just like we've covered, and I know there's 100 different scenarios, right, that we can play through, but you just have to use your judgment there. Again, these storms will start probably around 4 or 5 a.m. and be gone by probably 9 or 10 a.m. So just keep that in mind as you kind of make those plans. And thank you, Gma, for signing up for Weather Call Next Gen. And then Doris, you're asking, do we have to put in all of the letters in the website, or will it automatically populate once you start putting it in? So Doris, if you click the link, we put that hyperlink in there, and I'll put it in there again. That link is what you want to click. So that's the link that's going to get the call from my voice and that kind of thing to you. So if you click that or just copy and paste it, then that can make sure that you get that service, get yourself signed up, get all ready to go for that early in the morning. And a question is Mansfield going to get hail? So hail doesn't look to be likely at this point. I would say smaller hail is possible. Large hail is not as likely, but I can't rule it out at this time. So it's hard to say if you should make that decision or not. It's hard for me to say either way, but I'm not thinking that hail is going to be a big piece of the equation tomorrow, but again, I can't rule it out. So I know that's kind of a here and there answer that may be hard to give you, and I apologize for the screaming in the background, but that's kind of the situation we're looking at. So yeah, it just, if you're looking to get the car out of the way of the hail, hard to tell you which way you should go on that, but it is a situation where it is definitely possible. So yeah, definitely get signed up for Weather Call Next Gen. If you go on the Facebook page, if we wrap up the stream and you don't have that link, it is on the Facebook page there. You can go to southmetroweather.com/weathercall. The link is there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Sounds like might need to help with the kiddos here, but go ahead and get signed up for Weather Call. Make sure you have that set for the morning hours so that you're prepared. And you can get that information early in the morning if it's needed. Hopefully it's not. And Caleb said with the Weather Call, do I know if you haven't used my debit card or do I have to use my... so you're asking, I guess, what payment methods? Generally, it's going to be you put a card on file and it will charge that card from there. So thank you all so very much for tuning in. We're going to continue to monitor this. I'm going to try to get some sleep tonight, but it will be an early morning here at South Metro Weather. I will be monitoring this throughout that time. And if you're signed up for Weather Call, hey, when that warning is issued, for one, when the watches are issued, Severe Thunderstorm Watch, Tornado Watch, you'll get a notification, you'll get an email or a text. We're going to reserve the calls for the serious stuff because I know that if you're getting a call for everything, that's going to drive you crazy, right? So you'll get a text, an email, that kind of thing when some of those watches are issued, but you'll get a phone call specifically when you have one of those more emergent warnings come up. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will continue to monitor this and bring updates. I'll probably post one more update tonight, and then I'll have live coverage for you early tomorrow morning as severe weather rolls through here right at the beginning.